Win big in 2024 with Team Sync from RotoBaller. Import your fantasy teams and sync your leagues. Get customized tools and tailored advice for your specific rosters and scoring settings, including live recommendations from the live draft assistant, free agent finder, and lineup optimizer. Sync an unlimited amount of NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL fantasy teams from all of the major fantasy platforms. Get a discount for any premium pass using my promo code Knuckler. Just visit rotoballer.com/radio and start rotoballing like a boss. My podcast is also brought to you by Parlay Play Fantasy Sports. Use my referral code RotoBrady. Get that sweet, sweet deposit bonus. They're giving out boosts and slashing lines all day long. Check it out. It's a fun platform. And what is up, everybody? This is Brady Grove bringing you another interlude episode of RotoBaller's official MMA podcast. Tap that.
DJ Stevens, another game, never touchdown.
With me today, he is a 6'4", 235-pound tight end that played at Jackson State over 2 seasons from 2022 to 2023. 343 yards and 3 touchdowns on 35 receptions, 216 yards and 5 touchdowns with a 70-yard long of the season on 20 catches. Give it up for DJ Stevens. DJ, thank you so much for being here. How's it going, man?
Hey, how it going, man? I appreciate you for having me today.
So, man, first off, the two-sport athlete aspect in college is fascinating for a couple different reasons. You know, you ended up going to Jackson State. You're from Mississippi. How much of a factor in your, selection process was the wherever you were going, their comfort level with you wanting to play football and baseball?
Well, actually, baseball was my main sport in high school. Growing up my whole life, I played baseball since I was probably about 3, and I picked up football my junior year of high school. So I kind of got to the point to my senior year where it's the recruiting stage, and I'm just like, I want to do both. I wasn't ready to give up either one. So any school I talked to, most of the bigger offers were from football, and I just threw it out there, that I did play baseball and that I did want to play baseball in college. So when I talked to Jackson State, I talked to the football coaches, and they said they were okay with me. They was 100% okay with me playing both, and they actually had a tight end already there, Colin Ritchie. He played baseball and football, so that also, when I seen that they let him do it and gave him leeway to do both, that kind of, it was a no-brainer for me at that point, especially like you said, I'm from Ridgeland, Mississippi, so it's about 15 minutes from Jackson State. So be able to play both sports at home, that was like a dream come true for me.
I mean, what kind of adjustment was it like for you in high school when you pick up football kind of near the end and realize, and then some of the bigger offers that are coming in are for football? It must have at least been a bit of a curveball for you to then be like, oh, like, I guess I'm definitely playing football in college.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I went through my whole senior season and didn't really, it was no offers or anything. But like I said, I wasn't really I kind of just played football just for fun. And immediately after the season, like a week after it ended, I started picking up JUCO offers and then slowly started turning into D1. So it definitely was a curveball, like you said. I was surprised, but the main thing was just getting my school paid for it and being able to play the sports that I love. So it just was, I
And
don't know. Like I say, it just was kind of like a dream come true for me.
And I've never actually asked anybody this, but I'm very interested in the answer. Like, what is it like to get your first D1 offer, especially when it's something that that it has to be a work in progress for you, like all through high school to like get to that point and work to get to that. What is it like to finally like get in the mail a Division 1 offer for any sport?
My first D1 offer was on over the phone, so it was a phone call. I don't know. It's like your heart and stuff beating fast. You kind of can feel it building up when they talking to you. They don't just get on the phone right away and like, oh, we're offering you. They, build it up. But I don't know. My heart beating fast. I was excited, but I had to at the same time stay calm and stuff like that. Getting the offer, that's just the first part. once you get there, you want to put in some more work to be able to have a good career in college. So it was definitely exciting, but I mean, like I said, it just was a kind of some when you know you put in the work and you just get back what you put in, it kind of just like you excited, but you're not just overly excited. I say that.
Okay. Okay, I got you. And so like throughout your time at Jackson State, like what were some of the challenges of being a two-sport athlete? Like because it's something that has really gone away from college sports, decade by decade, and it's a shame because I love when I see that people have, that versatility to be able to play other sports at high levels. John Reese Plumley was another one, going throughout the transfer portal. But it's something that as specialization gets bigger and bigger for athletes that are getting younger and younger, you see less of this. So it must have been, it's an unusual thing to see, but there must have been, some challenges that go along with that.
Yeah, my freshman year probably was the toughest year for me. Now during the fall, the baseball coaches would let us be 100% football, so we wouldn't have to worry about anything but football. But in the spring, that's when it got tough because we were at baseball practice and were going to the games, but at the same time, the football coaches, because the scholarship is football, that pays for everything. They want you at spring practice and they want you, scrimmages on the weekend. We play baseball games on the weekend. Then so we actually used to have to go to football practice in the morning, baseball practice in the evening, and then we still got classes and stuff like that to deal with. So it took me, it probably took me half of that semester, if not the whole semester of my freshman spring year to get used to having to juggle two sports at the same time with my classes. Especially with that being my first year of college too, kind of was just learning a whole bunch of new things at one time.
And I mean, that on top of, everything else that goes along with just your first year at college anywhere, especially, I mean, if it's any sort of fun place to be,
Right.
there's 1,000 things to do on any given night. So there's, the focus aspect has to be tremendous, but the it's also got to be tough because during the spring when you guys are playing games on the weekends for baseball and everything, and it's like they want you at spring practice, and if there's something that conflicts with it, okay, but at the end of the day, you got to think that in the coach's eyes, it's like, well, he wasn't able to be there for this or this, so it's like you got to make those things work. It's got to be. It had to have been super tough.
Yeah, it was tough. I remember those days. We used to, like I said, Colin Ritchie, he played tight end with me. He played baseball, so we were real close. But I remember between practices, we would try to get naps in the locker room if we can. Just whenever we could, just try to get a little rest because we just knew every day was, like you say, just school, baseball, football, and then social life. Trying to, keep some of that too, especially with it being my freshman year. But it definitely was tough. Just had to get used to it.
Yeah, and then so to fast forward a little bit in the history of Jackson State football, enter in Deion Sanders, and immediately overnight for Jackson State for what had been, a long respected institution in many ways anyway. But then Deion Sanders' arrival makes everything blow up. Like it's a huge thing. Everybody's eyes were on Jackson State. It's the effect of Deion, and it's the effect of HBCUs became like super marketable places for all combines and all-star games that were taking place. People wanted to go there because there was money that could go into it finally. What the hell was it like to be at Jackson State when Deion Sanders is there and to deal with you're at one of the places that everybody in the country kind of wants to be at, and at the same time after not having to deal with it, you're dealing with what is now like a media circus, and you never know who's looking at you because everybody's eyes are on Jackson State.
Right. It definitely was. It was a crazy and fun experience for sure. Like when we first figured out that he was getting hired, we knew probably about a week or two before, like the fans, like social media and everybody. And it definitely, like, I couldn't even believe it at first. I'm like, no way Deion Sanders finna come coach us. But once he got there, like you said, it definitely was a whole new environment. Cameras everywhere, celebrities everywhere, people hitting you up on social media like, hey, how can I join the team? Walk on, whatever. Like it it was a new experience for sure. And I just had to, stay focused. I guess kind of the same focus I had my freshman year juggling the sports. Um, Definitely had to stay focused though, because with him coming in, the standards were raised and the talent level was raised. A lot of things were changing. And, I didn't want to become one of those players that, he did cut a lot of players that I had played with before he came there, and I didn't want to be one of those players. So, I had to stay focused in the weight room and at practice and stuff like that. And he came the fall of 2020. That's when LCS schools didn't have a season. I believe all LCS schools. I know HBCUs, we didn't. We had a spring season 21. So I had to make a decision to leave baseball alone because we were playing football and baseball at the same time. And like I said, I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to leave no leeway for me to potentially get cut or anything like that. So I just went all in football that spring season and just, like I said, just the main thing was really just staying focused, and every day was kind of like a job interview. He used to tell us that like can never get comfortable. Like every day you had to show up ready to work. And I believe that's just what made us so good during that time that he was there.
I mean, that's crazy too, because there had to have been like so many people reaching out to you, like internet wise or whatever. It immediately it goes from being a Division I football player to being a Division I football player at possibly what at the time was the most watched and the most famous program, like of the year,
Yeah.
and it's gotta like it's got to impact the way that you like approach people and you approach your time as a college athlete, because so many more opportunities opened up, in that period of time. During your career, the NIL becomes a thing. And so before the NIL, we thought like that would affect like three people. And we thought like one of those dudes' names would be Zion Williamson. It's
Right.
like we thought it was going to be just the top stars getting shoe deals or whatever. Day one of the NIL, we find out that that is absolutely not like the extent of it, that it's everybody. It affects everything now. And Jackson State was a huge example of just the power of marketability that there was, for a college football, for any college athletic program. So what was it like to, how you approached your time as a college, of course, wanting to stay focused, but also not ignoring the fact that like, you're always thinking about like the future of your career and like, how to maximize your potential opportunities. So what was it like navigating that atmosphere when you were playing there?
I mean, we definitely had to take advantage of the opportunities that we had. So, like you said, with the NIL era, we had a lot of people, wanting to do things for us because they knew we could get it seen and get it out there for them. So, I mean, you had to take advantage of the opportunities for sure. Just it really was. I mean, out once you lock in with the football stuff and you get a good routine with that day to day, and practice, it ain't all day. Practice, we used to practice in the morning, have meetings. We probably done for the day, probably about 2, 3 p.m. So, you got the rest of your day to do whatever you want to. So, like you say, with the opportunities, I know I had a couple NIL deals. I want like some of my other teammates, they kind of had, they had commercials and some of them had do-rag deals and stuff like that. Now I never went that crazy. I had me a t-shirt, and then uh Coach Sanders, he had us a team deal with FTX when they were up and running. And we just had to post stuff on our Instagram or social media maybe like once a week. And, they'll look out for us with the NIL payment or whatever. So we definitely had to take advantage of the opportunities because, like you said, before he got there, those opportunities, especially before he got there, it wasn't really NIL. Like it wasn't no no extra way for us to put some extra money in our pocket. So it definitely was a opportunity we had to take advantage of.
Right. And take like any of the other teams like in your guys's in your all's conference. Like, or take any other FCS schools, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama A&M, and Mississippi Valley State. Even for those guys where like, realistically the money is not around them and investing in like those as much, especially like the Mississippi Valley States where like they're having athletic trouble kind of all
Yeah.
around. But, at least those athletes and even like if you're a female 110-meter hurdler, you can go back to your hometown that summer and do a camp, at the high school that you went to and make money from that. It's a big deal, and it must have been a big deal for like at least your guys' immediate comfort levels when you were in college, to where you don't have to necessarily worry about the stuff that isn't like football and school related.
Right. Yeah, it gave us an opportunity for us to be able to live comfortably, like you say, just the little things like food and stuff like that, groceries, things that we were able to take care of during the NIL era, the beginning of it, I'll say.
And the other thing that came in a bigger burst with the arrival of Deion Sanders is Jackson State's activity in the transfer portal. Both ways, because when Deion Sanders arrives somewhere, a lot of people are leaving and a lot of people are coming in. Really, it's very impressive that you were someone that, stayed through that, because that, as we saw with Colorado, that necessarily is not a huge number of people. And it takes a couple of special characteristics to meet that bar for him. But, what's it like when you're a dude that's been somewhere, for a few years, and then you got a lot of people coming out and you got a lot of people coming in, and probably you got to think of a higher talent level, or at least something that he sees in them to, want to bring them in to capture lightning in a bottle.
Right. Yeah. When I still keep in touch with a lot of my teammates, and like we'll be reminiscing about the season and stuff, and I'll be like, now what year were you there again? Cause it's so I'm like, I think we stood up one meeting and he was like, if you were here when I got here in the spring of 21, he was like, stand up. And I think this was before the national championship game, December 22 versus North Carolina Central. And it was probably like five of us that stood up. So it wasn't many of us that were there before he got there and that were there to the time that he left. So, I'm talking to them. I'm like, it's hard for me. Sometimes it get hard to remember who was on each team because I played, if you include the spring season, I want to say I played 6 seasons at Jack State because I redshirted my freshman year. So, that's 6 different teams. That's 6 different groups of teammates that you had. So, it's kind of that it get kind of hard, but like you said, it's really a blessing at the same time to be able to have stayed at the program for that long. Because one, that do mean that I guess they had to see something in you or see something in me for me to be able to stay with all the players going in and out year to year. And it really just was, like I said, it was just a blessing just to be able to stay at home and to continue to play the sport football and to get my not only my bachelor's but my master's degree. And the whole time I had my family, all my family at the home and away games, and just being able to play in front of my family and friends throughout and stay at the same school throughout my whole career, it just was a blessing.
Yeah, and to be a dude that stays at one school for the whole college career and be a two-sport athlete, you're like you're like something out of like, a much earlier time period in college sports that was around in the 2020s.
Right. A lot of people do tell me that they like, isn't no way you actually stayed there that long, because I want to say last year on the 2023 team we had at Jack State, I was the only player in out of the coaches too that was there in 2018 for the 2018 season. Because a lot of those coaches like Coach TC Taylor, Coach Otis, really, they came in 2019. That was their, I still remember that was their first year, which was my sophomore year. So out of the whole program last year, I was like, they kind of joke with me, talking about I'm the old head and stuff, but it comes with it. I take it in.
And in 2023, and Deion Sanders ends up going to Colorado, and TC Taylor takes over as the head coach for Jackson State. What was what's it like playing your final college season under a guy that obviously you were familiar with, and he had like a good coordinator situation too, like an offensive coordinator that was like pretty well designed to make good use of the tight end position. You guys had a co-offensive coordinator too. It's always impressive when someone can make that work, because a lot of the time, it seems like with co-coordinators, that's just too many cooks in the kitchen. But
Yeah.
last year, with the coaching situation, how do you think that kind of transitioned into what was another, great season for Jackson State, ending up 7-4, and you guys win that final game against South Carolina State?
Yeah, well, Coach TC actually was my tight end coach when Coach Dion first came. So he was the tight end coach that spring 21 season and the fall 21 season. Cause we had a pretty good relationship. And then Coach Otis, really, who I mentioned, that came in 2019, he was the tight end coach last year. And with Coach Harris coming in, and he had coached I want to say Dawson Knox and Evan Ingram at Ole Miss. He had a pretty good resume with him and tight end. So it definitely was a lot of excitement and hype. I seen the reasons why to be excited for the season last year and stuff. And they did a good job of using us. We had three tight ends that we used for the most part last year. The other two, they were battling injury a lot, so they didn't get to play all the games. But I just love how we all had, that was kind of the first year, especially since I've been at Jack State, to where the main, I'd say 2 to 3 tight ends, like all were getting the ball, all were getting love. We all had multiple touchdowns. So, that was good to be a part of, especially, the people in your position group. That's like your brothers on the team, because when you with them through good and bad. So to be able to showcase my talent during the season and see them excel too, it just was it was a pretty good experience last year. Of course, we wanted to three-peat as conference champs and stuff, but first year, how it is, kind of just figuring things out and stuff. But it still was like you say, it still was a pretty good season for us.
And the last two seasons that you have at Jackson State, you combined for 559 yards on 55 receptions, 8 touchdowns, along of 70 yards over this last season, showcasing a lot of different, a lot of different upsides. You do well in scoring, and about 10 yards per reception, over those 2 seasons when there were a lot of eyes on the team. And there's all the stuff like Jackson State Pro Day, and then there's the HBCU combines. They do the All-Star games and all that kind of stuff. So once you're wrapping up your college career and you're coming off of, 2 really good seasons that showcase your abilities, what is it like, trying to make sure that the eyes get on your body of work that you put in college, and that, you're positioning yourself well to where when you do declare for the NFL draft, that, you're putting yourself in the best position possible to be able to find a pro opportunity after college?
Yeah, well, once our season ended in November, I kind of used probably about 2 or 3 weeks to rest up, kind of banged up after the season. And then after that, it's just a whole new, once you in that college career and you get ready you decide if you want to pursue a professional career, it's just a whole new ball game. It's more like your job now. So, and then it's not like, in college, you got somebody over you telling you do this, do that. In high school, you got somebody over you. In pro ball, like nobody finna tell you to do anything. Like it's up to you to go out there and do the work. So the main thing is just staying in shape and training, improving, realizing what's your weaknesses, your strengths, and trying to improve the weaknesses and, maintain the strengths and improving those as well. So the main thing for me is just once I rested up those 2 or 3 weeks, get a good workout routine, meal plan, diet, all that, and just trying to make sure I'm the best me for when I do get that opportunity to play pro ball.
And so when you're evaluating yourself and, when you're going through this process, what were the things that you looked at and you're like, all right, these are, a few specific things that I want to improve in that I know pro teams are going to be looking for, regardless of, where those pro teams might be. And is there any thought to you of like, maybe working on position versatility just so you can market yourself more as just like, a skilled offensive player if teams aren't necessarily looking for a tight end super specifically?
Yeah, well, the main thing for me, I do watch. I go back and watch a lot of film, and like I said, with me not starting football until my junior year of high school, and then in college, I didn't actually start at tight end until 2020, the 2022 season. So, I'm kind of, I won't say low on experience because I have seen a lot, but, just as far as game film and stuff like that, I'm kind of, I say, compared to somebody that's just been playing football, maybe their whole year, their whole life, and if football is their number one sport their whole life. So I just try to go back and watch film, and I'll look at other tight ends across the country and just, see what they're doing. If they're doing something real good, how do they do it? I like to watch a lot of professional tight ends, of course, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Jared Cook, like tight ends like that, that's just, they're where you want to be. So I'm just trying to see how they do things, workout programs, technique, blocking, catching, run out the catch, stuff like that. So just the main thing is improving strength, speed, being able to be in shape, and flexibility. That's the main thing too. Leverage that plays a big part in the professional level. That can, that's important when it comes to run blocking and stuff like that. So I just want to be when teams see me, I want to be a complete tight end, be able to I want them to be able to know that I'll be able to um have an impact in the run game and in the pass game and special teams too. Cause I did play a lot of special teams while I was in college like I said, before I got my opportunity to start, I started on every special teams except for field goal block, of course, but every special team I have experience with that too. So main thing is just evaluating myself, being honest with myself, and improving on the things I need to improve on.
And yeah, that's an interesting point about the special teams too, because I noticed that's another area where ESPN has stats compiled on you is in the special teams department, and that's always got to be a valuable thing for pro teams to see because when you're calling people up from practice squads or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
where are they probably going to be working themselves into more limited time on the field? It's going to be there, so it's got to be a huge selling point, and it's an interesting point too that like as far comparatively to a lot of the other guys that are your peers at the tight end position, you're relatively raw. You haven't been doing it near as long as all those did. So there's a lot of like aspects of the game that you've been picking up on at a more rapid rate because you had to. Uh,
Yeah.
and comparison wise, one of my favorite tight ends to watch in college over the last few years was Isaiah Likely at Coastal Carolina. And I think that there are definitely several aspects of your pass catching game that are similar to Isaiah Likely's, and it's a unique kind of offensive tool that people are looking for in a lot of different areas.
Oh yeah. That's they both important, but the pass catching game, that's kind of like what sells to everybody. That's what catches their attention. The blocking, the run game, I feel like that's kind of more underrated. Like just the true football fans or the coaches or whatever that really watch film, they'll be able to really see how you impact the run game. But like you said, the pass game, that's for tight ends, especially just nowadays, as you watch NFL, you see what Travis Kelce is doing every time the ball's in his hand. I think that's kind of what really puts you out there if you can be a good pass catching tight end and be able to move the sticks and, be a threat in the red zone and score.
And so, kind of the last area of discussion here is so there's the NFL, there's the CFL, there's now pro leagues in Mexico as well. There's a pro league in Japan, X1. There's the European League of Football that's spread all throughout that continent and specific German leagues. There's at least 4 good indoor/arena football leagues in this country. And there's the UFL, which, has seen a huge transition of players to the NFL on a multitude of different kind of deals over the last few years. So one, because there's all those different play where you got to weigh these things like, I want to keep playing pro football. Do I want to move to Mexico, to Poland, to Japan? Do I want to play, on a team for a team that's playing on a 50-yard field in, a basketball arena in Des Moines? But what kind of, feeling out process has it been to see like the whole wide world of opportunities of professional football out there? A lot of really good ones that a lot of really, there are guys that played, defensive line for Georgia that are on teams all across the leagues that, we just discussed. But what's it like to kind of evaluate what those options are and to, get your name in front of them and start to think about, on, different countries and different season times, where you're hoping to play football at some point soon?
Well, the good thing about having teammates, all the teammates I was talking about earlier, is I can reach back. A lot of them are actually still playing in those leagues, a lot of those leagues you just named. So I can reach out to them and, they'll just tell me, the truth of what's going on, what they like about the leagues, what they don't like about the leagues, if they're using the league to, work their way up. Because, everybody main goal at the end of the day is to go to the NFL, provide for their family. So, I just reach out to my teammates and I just ask them, how they like it and stuff like that. And, what's the process and stuff that they have to go through to get seen by those coaches and stuff in those leagues. And the main thing for me after the NFL draft, when I didn't, get an opportunity, the main thing for me, what I wanted to do at first was just focus on myself and get myself better, realize what I need to get better at and really just pour into that. And the next step for me really right now, I know I'm going to a UFL camp in Orlando, no, September 29th. So that would be the next step for me. So I'll just use that as another measuring stick to see how much I improved from Pro Day and the HBCU Legacy Bowl, which was in February. And just like you say, it's a process. So just going through the process, just like I said earlier, it's kind of just it's like your job now. So you just have to stay to it day to day, make sure you're doing something to get better day to day. And that's what I've been trying to do. And just when I get that next opportunity, just make the best of it, whichever league it is.
And because there's so many and there are so many good ones now, like N'Kosi Perry from Miami and Levi Lewis from Louisiana, they were playing in Europe this year. And those those leagues haven't necessarily been around for a super long time for us to have a sample size of them getting to another level, but we see a lot of movement for it. And there's so much growth in American football worldwide that's finally starting to happen to where the Germans are producing homegrown German football players that are making it to the NFL. There's the defensive end for Colorado State this past year that was a sumo wrestler. So it's reaching a bunch of different corners, and so it's only getting better. But folks, thank you so much for listening to this interlude episode of RotoBallers official MMA podcast. Have that. With me today was DJ Stevens, former tight end at Jackson State University. Professional teams, fans alike. He can be found on Twitter, Supreme DJ at DJ Stevens with an extra S on the end. DJ, thank you so much for being here today. This was a lot of fun. If you have anything else that you want to say or anybody you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
I'm just giving a shout out to all my family and stuff, in Mississippi, and a shout out to Jackson State. I'm glad they blessed me with the opportunity. I wouldn't be here today without Jackson State, so I'm gonna give a shout out to them, and a shout out to you. I appreciate you for reaching out to me and having me on the show, man.
No, this was a lot of fun, and man, I wish you nothing but the best moving forward in your pro career. I'm gonna be keeping an eye on what's going on, with you, and maybe we can do this again sometime.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
All right, well, folks, thank you so much for listening. We got another UFC event after UFC 305 that just happened this past weekend. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. Peace.